We'll just give it another minute while people are trickling in before we kick things off. There's no. All right, I think we're ready to kick things off. Um, Today, well, first off, welcome to the Mainframe Open Education Student User Group, where we just sit down and talk to folks in the field about their experiences with the mainframe, specifically recent grads and kind of people early to mid-career with their mainframe. I am going to be one of your hosts today. I apologize, my camera isn't working. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I assure you it is the truth. I'd love to have everybody see my face, but unfortunately that is not the case. But luckily, there's another pretty face that will be joining us as a host today. Neil will be my primary host for today's student user group session. Say hi to everybody, Nat.
Hi everyone. I don't know about a pretty face, but definitely a face.
All right, so today, Niall, do you want to do the introductions for our guest speaker?
Yeah, so this is a funny one because I've not been a host for long, but I've never had the opportunity of introducing someone before and saying they're my colleague. So this is different, and I wonder if that'll happen again in the future. But yeah, I mean, this is Simran Sharma, who is currently on the New to Z scheme at Vertali. Simran, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself? Obviously, there's a little description there, but is there do you want to go into a bit of detail about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Simran. As Niall said, I'm a technical consultant at Vitali on the NZ scheme, and I've also graduated in computer science in cybersecurity and networking, and I've just started my career in mainframes.
So Simran actually started in this space. If I remember correctly, it was almost a year ago. It was about 11 months ago, where without spoiling anything, where they attended for the first time a guide share conference. So it's an interesting kind of development in that, within the space of 11 months, we've got someone who's attended a conference and been so enthused by it that they're now working in this space. So I can't wait to hear more about Simran. I'm sure our audience can't either. So yeah, I mean, should we crack on with the questions, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm equally excited. I'm not familiar with Cimarron, so I'm very excited to learn more about the history and how we ended up in the mainframe space. So
Yeah, so I mean that's I guess the first topic to cover then, isn't it? So do you want to maybe describe Simran your kind of journey into your current role? So we talked about 11 months ago versus today, maybe that journey.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my journey started last year in November, and that was where I was invited to the Guide Share conference. And going into it, I didn't know anything about mainframes. And during it, I went to a wide range of sessions, the Waves 101 tracks, and also I went to quite a bit of the security sessions because by the end of this, you'll know that I have a passion for security. And then from there, now mentored me in RACF because I had a passion for security. And then after that, I did the IBM Z badges. And then I also, all the stuff I learned from the conferences and now mentoring me. I then went to a college and presented about what mainframes were, what RACF is, and the guide share conference. And then that's it really. From there, I then joined Vertali.
Brilliant. Taylor, do you want to ask the next question then?
So, oh, this is gonna be a fun one. Why did you feel drawn to technical field rather than any other field? And it sounds like you had to make a decision. So, um, we're gonna kind of explore that decision a little bit more in depth, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, so well, how I first got into the technical field was actually in secondary school. It was where my teacher at the time was struggling with a computer problem, so I stepped in and helped. And then from there, I did a BTEC in computing and then did a degree in computing. And from there, I just thought technology was really good. I enjoyed problem solving, learning the new technologies involved. And then um, I just feel like the technology field was always
So
a, oh, sorry,
it's
Karen.
so yeah. Was there ever any other direction that you were kind of poking around or interested in, or was it always just like this is where I want to go? Because sometimes we hear stories of like, hey, I was never planning on getting into the mainframe, and then I just kind of fell into it. But before that, I was on this, education road towards something completely different. So I'm just kind of curious, was there a point where you decided between two different career paths, or was it always just like, this is for me?
Yeah, so actually, before the Guide Share conference, I wanted to get into digital forensics. So I forgot to say, also did a digital forensics course at uni as well, alongside my degree. And I wanted to at the time get into digital forensics or be into like be a cybersecurity specialist, but without the mainframe career. But then after going to the GS, I then realize that there's a security part in mainframes that's the whole like how they run securely is like the secure part. So from then I went into exploring more of the security side in mainframes, and then I decided that yeah, I want to do a career in the mainframe and security part.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that you're still doing stuff with forensics on the mainframe today, right?
Yeah.
In a certain capacity, yeah, yeah. So when I say you're still doing stuff with forensics and you're answering like, yeah, like it's a lot of research on the security side, right? You have to do a lot of poking and prodding around, right?
Yeah. I didn't
So
before going to the conference, I didn't know like the different parts of the security in the mainframes. I didn't know like RACF, ACF, or top secret. And then going into it and getting mentored by Nal, I started to realize all the important things to keep mainframes so secure.
yeah, that's pretty cool. So it sounds like you're kind of just always interested in computers, but specifically on the security side, which makes sense since you're, being mentored by Neil. But
Don't
that's
know whether I
great.
should take credit or blame for that.
Both. You
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
both.
But no, I mean, it is interesting. Obviously, you briefly covered it, Simran, but you actually did do a presentation for your college. So in that regard, there's every chance that you may go into kind of sort of an educational position on the side, like maybe, for example, in the RACF space, you might have a client who's moving over from one technology to another. Maybe they're moving over from one ESM to another, and you might have to teach them the differences. And there's been sessions like that at GS UK in the past. So maybe that's something that you go into. So you still have your technical responsibilities, but also get to use them in a non-technical position, in a more educational. So things to look forward to. But I guess then that leads to our next question. So how did you gravitate specifically to the mainframe? So like you have touched upon, you went to GS UK, and obviously you can't really escape the mainframe when you're there. It's kind of hard to see anything else. but why did you choose that over any other system? Web development or kind of anything on the Mac or on the Windows or Android apps, or why specifically did you say I've seen the mainframe and I do believe in it and I want to work in this rather than anything else?
Okay, so I'd say I chose the mainframe because like I going into the GS, um, going to the GS, I realized that there's so many more things in the mainframe. Like there's new things to learn. So I wanted to learn all the new things, and that's why I wanted to get a career in the mainframe to see how they are able to like run.
So like with all the technologies that you saw, because obviously like we have this sometimes this mistaken stereotype that the mainframe is like outdated, it's old, it's legacy, whereas actually it's sleek and it's modern and it's got technologies that are by far and away kind of out of this world compared to the competition. So are you saying then maybe you saw what technology we were using and you thought this is the best and brightest, this is the kind of creme de la creme of technology, and you thought I want to work on that rather than anything else?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to learn at GSUK, and it's nice that you could see things and say I'm seeing and I'm believing rather than I'm being kind of, I don't know, sold to. It's less of a sales pitch and more of an inspiration at that point. Taylor, do you want to go on with the next one then?
Oh yeah. So how did you learn, how did your learnings help you to land this role in your mainframe career? So like, how did you apply what you've learned? And like, honestly, going through what you've learned in college versus what you learned like kind of outside college from the GSE, I think is important because sometimes, especially people from the mainframe side, a lot of it's extracurricular, learning on the outside of courses in certain situations. So, could you expand a little bit on like, what you learned and from where and kind of how you applied it?
Yeah, sure. So like I mentioned before, in I was also invited to the Waves conference as well. And from the Waves conference, there's two different streams. There's the 101 for new people who are getting into the mainframes, and then the 102 for people who've already got an understanding about mainframes but to learn more. And so from there, I learned about the different topics like DB2 and RACF, and them learnings helped me to in my like mainframe career, because if I didn't go to these conferences like the Waves or the GS, I wouldn't have known what any of this stuff is or what mainframes is, because you don't get taught that in university. So if I wasn't invited to GS, I don't think I wouldn't be here right now.
So what was your, what was the first thing? Was it RACF or DB2? Like, what was your first like real exposure to like one of the mainframe tools? Do you remember from, I think that was it the Waves event or the GSE?
I would say 100% RACF.
100% RACF,
It's
all
my
right.
Yeah.
fault. It's so my fault.
So,
I
what
remember
did,
though. Sorry, Taylor. I was just going to say. I remember at Waves. There was a different sort of what we did is we had the 101 and 102 in parallel, and we had every hour or kind of every hour and a half we'd have a 45-minute speech with a little break, but we'd covered a lot of different topics. But I think what we tried to cover the main ones, and I think it's interesting, isn't it, that with Simran's experience at college, this is someone who clearly wanted to do security, and that all paid off. Obviously, we had presentations, and Leanne Wilson did one, and I think it's great to see that that learning from college actually helped, in the kind of absorption of the content from a conference, as well as sort of attaining your kind of first role in this industry. So I think it's interesting how those learnings have kind of carried you through incrementally.
yeah. So what was one of the first things that you learned about from this, the exposure to RACF? Do you remember like kind of what you learned in that initial course or anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, so I learned about the first thing I learned was about the ESM. the external security manager in RACF. And I also learn about the wildcards as well, and asterisk and percent and what they meant, and the different dataset profiles, generic and discrete. So from then, like learning all this, I wanted to learn more. I wanted to have a look how you actually do this on the mainframe.
And how did like your background in computers help you understand this information? Because it's fairly technical stuff. Like, did you feel like it was an easy translation, or do you feel like there was a little bit of a learning curve to this?
I'd say it was an easy translation because I did the cybersecurity degree. It was just following on like the different parts of what is in security because I already knew about the threats and stuff. So I feel like it was just following on just to a
Nice.
different technology.
So, was there any other education kind of along the way that you needed to learn more about the mainframes, or was mostly the conferences that you learned?
Um, yeah, I'd say mostly conferences and then also the courses I did as well. Like I also did a course hosted by Kev Milne. It was a mainframe penetration course, and that helped me as well.
What did you learn in that course? That sounds interesting.
Well, I learned like the Linux side on mainframes, um, and also the penetration testing on a mainframe. And then currently in the NTZ scheme on Vertali, I'm doing a wide range of training courses on like RACF, and we're looking at the different sides, so like on the mainframe, but then also what everything means, and then applying that like practical and also theory side.
So, question, and I don't know if this is something that you can necessarily answer, but like, how is pen testing and mainframe different than your normal quote unquote pen testing in the distributed world?
I don't know if I can answer that one currently.
That's fair.
But you are, we have actually got a meeting soon. I think you're attending, aren't you, Simran, about pen tests?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I think we're maybe 2 weeks too early to answer that, Taylor. But we could always come back and ask that one
Oh
again,
yeah,
in a couple
for
of
sure.
weeks. Yeah.
For sure. All right.
So Simran, I guess you've mentioned these different courses. So you've said about you've done kind of RSM Tech and Kevin Milne's the mainframe offensive security tester course. Um, would you say you're more of a kind of vocational practical learner or more read write? And as you kind of have all these different opportunities to learn, how would you say you're building your skills? Are you doing a lot of trial and error to try and learn, or are you making loads of comprehensive notes? Both.
So I'd say I'm doing a bit of both. I'm doing going on to the course and writing the notes at the same time, and then also once the course is finished, I'll look back on the notes and see if I understand it. And then once I've got the theory side understood, then I'll go on to the mainframe and try and get the practical side understood, and then do like loads of practices. And there's also like tasks as well that's been set after the course, and that helps as well to test my knowledge on what I've learned in the training course.
So with a lot of the kind of practicals, do you find so I know obviously like you and your peers are looking at into scale as well. Do you find it useful to have questions where it's kind of contextualized to a mainframe terminal? Because I know in my case, and obviously this isn't an interview about me, but I struggle to contextualize information. If someone says, you see this command, what are you expecting to be the output? I need to see it almost on a terminal. I need to see it as green text on a black screen rather than black text on a white screen to really make that association. Would you say that kind of applies to you as well, or?
Yeah, I'd say in the training courses we're shown like it written down, but then also they'll show us actually on the mainframe, and that really helps as well.
Brilliant. With regards to extra, say like, are there any extracurricular things that you're doing outside of your kind of, I guess, your day job. So you're attending the RSM Tech courses, you've been to GS UK and you've been to, other events like Waves, but do you maybe read books in your spare time? I know obviously it's quite well regarded in the industry. Obviously it's quite a few years old, but there's, what on earth is a mainframe? Like, have you read any books? Have you just done Interskill in your free time? Is it something that and then obviously, maybe I know you went and you presented at your old college, like has any of that helped as well?
Yeah, I'd say 100% presenting at my college has helped because I feel like when I first started, I was learning what it was myself and then also teaching other students so that they were getting inspired as well. So I feel like that has helped me to get proper understanding about RACF before I went into the courses. So I had a good understanding, but then I made it like better with the training courses.
Gotcha. So I guess we'll move on to questions about your sort of outside of your personal progress then, and more into your, your advocacy, like your serving of the kind of wider mainframe community. So I think, Taylor, you're on the next question, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, from what you've said, I think there's a clear connection to the community. And I think that's great. And we're going to dive into that a bit more. But like, before we get into a little bit of like, the mainframe community per se, like, I'm just curious to kind of see what do you think the mainframe community is to you? Like what's been your overall experience with this community?
Okay, so I'd say my experience with this community is everyone's really supporting, especially with the like getting new to Zeds into the community. Everyone's supporting, and like when I first went into the GS, everyone was really like supporting, trying to understand what I wanted to get into, and they were telling me ways that I could um like get into the mainframe career. So I feel like everyone was supporting and really helpful.
That's great. So, what I mean, we kind of already touched on this, but what brought you into the mainframe community?
Um,
Because I guess just to expand on that question, Simran, like, you could just be quite insular, right? Like you do get people who work certain jobs and they just sort of clock in, do their work, clock out, and they don't necessarily engage with the community. They don't you know, participate in things like, IBM Tech Exchange or, conferences like GS UK. They don't volunteer as speakers or write articles. You know what I mean? There's things that you might be drawn to that other people aren't. So I guess the question from Taylor, maybe like, why have you been drawn to that? Did you maybe feel like you needed to give back to the community that's going to help you get to where you are now, or something like that?
yeah, so I would say that I was drawn to it because I wanted to also inspire other students. Like I said before, like at university, you're not told what mainframe is. So I want to try and like support other students to get into the mainframe community and show them that it's a really good um, opportunity. There's different opportunities to get into.
So then, going back to it, like your first experience with the community was GSE, right? Like that was kind of your first exposure.
Yeah.
When you first attended, and I know you've kind of hit on this, but like what was the overall feeling when you first got there? Were you overwhelmed? Were you like, what the heck is going on? Or were you like, oh, this kind of feels like something I can get into?
So I'd say when I first like went into the conference, I was overwhelmed because I didn't know what a mainframe was. So I was attending security big sessions and I was sat there like, but I don't know what a mainframe is. So I didn't understand um, what was happening. And then after that, when I went to the 101 sessions and then I started to understand what mainframes were, then I understood.
So then, you kind of your first experience with the mainframe was positive kind of because the community was there to kind of help and support you, right? Like that was I'm guessing like from your perspective, you're like this community is here to help me. I'm interested in cybersecurity. I'm feeling very welcomed by this community. I'm feeling like there's a lot of people who want to mentor me. So it kind of formed this really positive association with, the mainframe community overall because they were there to help, guide you through this. And you're still very early on in your career. So like I imagine that this is this very reassuring? Do you like still want to be involved in that community as you progress through your career?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like, and again, you're what, 4 months into your current role, right? So
Yeah.
you're still learning quite a bit. So support looks very different for people depending on where they are in their role. For you, supporting the community is just coming onto the student user group and speaking about this. So, you know, that's a really great example of, giving back to the community. So, when Niall approached you to speak on the student user group, what made you want to say yes? What made you want to contribute back to the mainframe community?
Because I want to inspire other students to launch their career in mainframes, and also I want to like um, show them that mainframes is a good technology and inspire students because you're not taught in university what mainframes are. So I feel like if we do more talks and go to different universities and teach students what they are, then they'll be inspired to get into the mainframe.
So you want people to feel inspired like you did, when you
Yeah.
first stepped into, yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And it's a very noble effort, and you'll find that a lot of people also want the same thing for new people and for you yourself, and I'm sure Niall can speak to that as well. Sorry to kind of go on this little tangent about the community and your experiences with it, but it's an important part of your journey, and it sounds like it really kind of shaped your career path. So I want to just make sure that we fully understand kind of how you got to where you are today. Um, so Neil, if you want to ask, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we're
I mean, no, there's no harm going down a tangent like that because I think it helps us to understand, the kind of the guest being interviewed, and obviously it's an interesting one in that our industry can be a bit of an exception to the rule. In a lot of industries, it can be common for people to say, why would I want to train you more? Why would I want to upskill you? Because it puts my job at risk or, my career progression at risk. In this space, we're not like that, generally speaking. You look at the way that I was mentored, I got loads of support, and then I've now passed that on to Simran and other students. And then Simran's going and doing talks at her college or might go back to or even to different colleges. And I think it's really nice because you can see that people are constantly passing the not just passing the baton, but actually kind of extending the kind of the safety line. We're all trying to carry that forwards and sort of passing it on in a really generous way. Um, so I guess, yeah, that leads to our next question then. So which past events have you been to and which would you like to attend in the future? And I know the picture there is maybe a good indication of one that is coming up in March, which hopefully both of us will be able to attend.
So the past events I've been to is the Guide Share
Hmm.
conference, and then also the Waves spring event and the Waves summer event as well. And I also attended the Student Development Day at Bedford College. So the future event I would like to attend the next Bedford College Student Development Conference. I feel like I want to be able to inspire more students to get into mainframes, and then also the upcoming waves and guide share events as well.
Brilliant. I think it's interesting. You've been to some of the biggest ones in the UK, and obviously, you're saying you'd quite like to go back, and I think you are due to go back for GS UK. Hopefully, we'll be able to Vertali and kind of the wider industry be able to find the budget to send loads of people to the Wave Spring event in April 2026. Student Development Day, I think, is really nice as well because, like you said, you're then kind of giving back to your own you know the place that helped you like grow and I guess set you off on that path. But maybe in the longer term, Simran, are there any conferences or any events that you might want to go to that are further afield? Have you seen pictures or heard stories about any and thought, I'd love to go to that one day? Maybe even if it's just an excuse to go to a country, oh, I've always wanted to go to America, so maybe I'll have to convince the management to let me go to Tech Exchange.
Um, I I think I might want to go to the IBM Security Summit. I think it's in Netherlands. I'd like to
It
go to
was this year, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, maybe Tech Exchange. I've seen that's coming up in next week, so I'd like to go to that as well in the future.
I think it's nice that we have these kind of things to look forward to. You know, there's an opportunity for people to say, I want to work my way to go to there. And, you know, maybe in terms of sort of funding, you know, you look at a lot of people in the space will kind of start off, they're not, you know, maybe a little bit nervous, not really sure where to go. And then they say, you know, oh, well, maybe if I do my first talk at, you know, so my university, and then they build up a bit more confidence. They say, maybe I'll do one of my next talks at, you know, a sort of a conference that's more local to me. And then maybe they do it at, you know, GSUK or, you know, say Mighty Mainframe if you're in Croatia, and then eventually people keep working their way up, and you know then they go, I think I'm ready to go and present on a major stage. And I mean, I look at you know one of the people in our audience, Nishka, who we had on previously. You know, Nishka's gone from doing talks at kind of her local university in the same way you've done at Bedford, and then said, actually, I want to go and present at GSUK. And then, you know, what's next for her? Well, that's the same question I'm going to ask for you because I'm sure, you know, you'll be presenting some of these in the future. So I think that's really great. There's a lot to look forward to.
That's awesome. So I think we're kind of approaching the end of your interview session, and you've done a fantastic job. So you know, there's only a few more questions left, and for any of those in the audience who has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll try to get them answered. But in the meantime, you know, what would you say to those who are also considering careers in the mainframe space? Because, you know, what what would you tell them, you know, not to convince them, but to about the mainframe career space to reassure them that it's a good path or that this is an opportunity that you should consider?
Well, I would tell them to take up all the opportunities. So if you get invited to the guide share, go in and I would also explain my story where I first started and show them that I was going to go down to a different field, but then mainframes inspired me, so they should be inspired as well.
Yeah. So, you know, seeking out the community is a big part of this, though, in your opinion, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, going the events and, you know, when you're at the events, you know, you had you know, the privilege or the curse, depending on how you want to talk about the Nile, of having a mentor. You know, how important was that part of the community to you? And, you know, do you think that other people can find mentors in the mainframe space?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if they were given the opportunity to go to guide share, they should like talk to people and explain what their interest is in and find someone who has the same interest and then they might say, I'll be your mentor. Because I feel like if I wasn't mentored by now, then I don't think I would have been like have a good understanding of RACF as I do now.
It's awesome. So, going beyond just going to the community events, just finding a mentor is just really important. And I think that kind of is one of the things that you're kind of passionate about, right? It's just like the mentorship aspect in the mainframe.
I think the interesting thing will be, you know, Simran, you're kind of the current one of the four people in our current intake at Vertali of the new to Z scheme, but there's going to be more in the future. And so, you know, just as I've mentored you and just as I would mentor anyone, I think it's going to be interesting to see maybe you know, people like yourself and your peers in that intake starting to mentor their sort of you know kind of those who are beneath them, those who are starting out behind them. And so there's that constant passing of the baton, that constant kind of imparting of that knowledge. And I think that's going to be really interesting for me to see firsthand, and obviously for the community to see as more of these you know, kind of new employee schemes, you know, next gen for Rocket, or maybe new to Z for Vitali, or Vitality for Broadcom. As more of these schemes start, I'm going to be fascinated to see how the mentorship kind of dynamic flows over the years. So I guess my last question then is, um, is there anything that you, Simran, would say to our audience? Here's maybe something that I would really recommend, something I really wouldn't recommend, maybe even something I've done personally, and I wouldn't do that again, but maybe you give it a chance, or is there anything like that you'd want to impart? So, as I say, maybe a lesson that you want to you want to impart to someone else. Maybe they don't make the same mistake as you, or they do learn the same thing as you. Sometimes, obviously, making a mistake is the best way to learn.
So I think I would say, do wise, take all the opportunities that you're given. And also, I'd say that if you get invited to any of like conferences or anything like Waves, GS, go in and use that opportunity, talk to people, network with people, because I feel like that really helped me going into these conferences, networking with people and understanding the mainframe community and getting into them. And then the don'ts, I'd say don't go into anything thinking that um, you'll get a job instantly, because that's not how it works.
So you're saying basically going to GS UK isn't the only reason you got your job, and you can't, or even just you can't just apply and just sit back and go, well, that's it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm guaranteed here. And I think that's actually a really good point for, when you look at the guests that the kind of student user group has had on over many, many months, what you'll see as, I guess, a common thread is that a lot of people really do put in more effort than they're kind of paid to do. They put in more effort than they're obligated to do. And I think that's a lovely kind of thing for people to see, and that, they're not just doing the bare minimum, and it is paying off. It is kind of working out in their favor. So yeah. Okay. I think that's brilliant. I don't know, Taylor, do we have time for anything else? I've seen Maddie asked this question in the chat, so I don't know if we've got time to ask that.
Yeah, let's answer that. We'll do a little quick Q&A for anybody who has any questions, and then I think we'll talk a little bit about what the student user or what the mainframe open education group is specifically, and I think we'll have Devante speaking. So let's do some quick Q&A.
I can see Maddie's question is, what do you advise for people who are interested in security in mainframes? Maybe some practices or learnings you recommend? Maybe a course on Interskill or something?
Yeah, so I'd say to do the Interskill RACF, I think it's called Mainframe Introduction to Mainframe Security. That would help a beginner, because it takes you into everything. It explains about what RACF is and the mainframe security side. So I feel like that would be good for people to do on Interskill.
I did say to Maddie in the chat, and I've extended this invitation to anyone who wants it, but I've written some little challenges which I've shared with Simran and the other New to Z people at Vertali, and I'm happy to extend those if anyone else is interested in sort of seeing what sorts of little challenges there might be set. A lot of them are you might want to have a Z trial environment to run these commands in and get an output. But there's also a lot of theoretical questions. So if you can't physically do it, if you can't practically do it, you can still understand what I'm asking and why. So I'm happy to share those. And yeah, I think there's a lot of materials out there. I know Rui Theo's got a really good website. He's very well regarded, and he's the sort of chairperson for one of the two chair people for the 101, sorry, for the security working group at GS UK. So Rui Theo's website is also worth looking into. I'll put a link for that in the chat just in case anyone wants.
Right. A follow-up question is from Nishka, is what have you enjoyed the most since starting your mainframe career?
I would say learning the new things in the mainframe on the training course that I'm doing now. And I'd also say doing this as well, doing that to give back to the community and to inspire other students.
Yeah. So just the all the stuff that you're learning is just, you're very passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. All right. If there's no other questions, thank you so much, Simran, for being our guest speaker. I really enjoyed having you talk about your experiences. And if anybody on the listening into this now or in the future please feel free to reach out to, I'm going to throw you out there, Simran, to Simran, and she'd be happy to talk a bit more, as well as anybody on the host or the panel today. We all love to help everybody out and just kind of figure out what a career mainframe can look like and just connect you with any resources we can. Any closing comments now?
No, I mean, I think it's as I say, it's been a pleasure for me to mentor some people, mentor someone and deliver presentations, for their kind of college. Having done similar things for people like Nishka and Leonard, who are also now employed at Vertali, and that's been really rewarding for me to see their progression, and then now to get to say they're my colleagues. And so I would say to any of you in the audience, if you do want to, join this industry, definitely do reach out to them, ask questions, and definitely do kind of, put in as much effort as you can, because if it does pay off, it'll take you a long way, and then you can look back on things. You can have a meeting like this, being interviewed, and say, "I've come such a long way. I've really achieved something." And I think that's a really nice feeling for you, and it's a really nice reward for a feeling for people like myself as well. So yeah, everyone wins.
Thank you so much for your time. Again, we really appreciate your contributions to the Open Mainframe project. And with that, I'm going to go into a bit about what the mainframe open education is. Did you want to cover this, Devante?
Yeah, sure, I can cover it. And thank you again, Simran. We definitely appreciate you speaking, and then also kudos to you, Now and Taylor. You guys are excellent hosts, and I really did enjoy the conversation here. So thank you for sharing your journey, Simran. I'm sure that it inspired, everyone here, here with us now, and then also people listening to the recording later. But speaking of, community and wanting to provide resource for everyone, mainframe open education gives you just that. So what mainframe open education is that it's a open source knowledge sharing community contribution where we basically create a repository of information that people in the community can contribute to help those new to mainframes and new to Z start out with their journey, right? I'm pretty sure for like a lot of us, we kind of had to know someone in the industry to get involved in mainframes. It was something that we probably, didn't necessarily think about pursuing, but by having this community, it really does kind of make things easier for people to start with their journey, right? So this is also a way that we can provide free educational resources and assets to those who want to learn more. And then also it really does give them a building blocks foundation of getting started into Z, and then if we want to point them to an Interscope course or to IBM Z Explorer or to other resources in the community, we can do that through the MOE community. And Taylor, if you go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the mainframe open education Gitbook that we currently have. So right now we have 5 chapters, from what is a mainframe, enterprise computing, the foundation technology from the hardware to the software to the different types of subsystems like DB2, RACF, and then operating systems, ZOS, and so on. The different roles in the mainframe and how you can, kind of figure out what role is the best fit for you, and then lots of different career path opportunities with companies out there. So we are always looking for new things. So if you just went through an Interscope course and you want to talk about JCL, what you learned in that, you can contribute to this Gitbook. And now I know that you have content as well that you create out there. You can also post this on the Gitbook, right? We really want this to be a community contribution effort because I have mentors that are getting ready to retire, and I'm like, I wish that I had kind of like a repository of all the knowledge and information they share with me, and I could post that on the Gitbook. So that way, it's not just me consuming this knowledge; it's also other people. But yeah, we're always looking for new content, new ideas, new new ways to kind of be fun in terms of learning with mainframes. I know that a lot of us here on the panel are visual learners. We prefer to be hands-on. This can help us do that, right? So it's a really good way to get involved with the community, and then also the Open Mainframe project as a whole. And Taylor, next slide. You actually get to earn a digital credential for contributing. So This is something that you can post on LinkedIn and share within your networks, and that way everyone knows that you're contributing to a really good effort here within the community. And then also, bring your friends along, bring your peers along. We definitely, need more people to help contribute to get back to the next generation of mainframers. So, if anyone is curious on how to contribute, just reach out to anyone here on the panel, and we'd love to help you get started on your mainframe journey here. But it's free, and it's a really good resource for the community, and we just want everyone to know as much as they can and to help contribute. So outside of that, Niall, now Taylor, do you guys have any upcoming events or anything that you want to share with the audience before we close out?
I will be at IBM Tech Exchange next week, so hopefully I might see some of yourselves in the audience there. We also have the GS UK event in the first week of November, the first full week of November. Obviously, I'm with Waves, so we'll be there as well. But also Open Mainframe Project will be there, so there's a nice opportunity to see obviously the people who are on this kind of committee on this, the people who host these student user group sessions, to pick our brains, to learn more, and obviously to hear all about what we're working on. And yeah, so I think those are the two that I can think of. Taylor, have you got any?
No, not any that I can think of off the top of my head, but I think there's always something going on. So stay
Yeah.
tuned and keep joining these sessions, and we'll make sure everybody's aware of those tech exchanges.
Yeah. Also, IBM Z Day. There's going to be another IBM Z Day happening on November, I believe it's November 12th. That's going to be virtual, so so be sure to attend that as well, and we will also be sure to cover it at next Bucks Student User Group webinar. But yeah, awesome. If that's it, thank you everyone for joining. We definitely appreciate your time, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers all.
Thank you.